The Clockmaker's town, where time paused, sleeping stories. In a small, tranquil town, time flows differently. Clocks tick softly, seconds stretch gently, and every moment carries a quiet, hidden lesson. Follow a young visitor as they wander the streets, discovering the mysterious clockmaker and learning the slow, calm rhythm of life that exists in the unnoticed moments. This is a slow, soothing journey for relaxation, calm and deep, peaceful sleep. Close your eyes, breathe slowly, and let time itself lull you gently into rest. The town was quiet, the kind of place where even the street lamps seemed to hesitate before flickering. The cobblestones glimmered faintly under the soft light of the moon, each stone reflecting a tiny piece of the night. Here, everything moved slowly, deliberately, and almost nothing happened all at once. A young visitor named Eli wandered through the streets, noticing the small irregularities that made the town unusual. The hands of the clocks in the windows did not move at the same pace. Some ticked softly and slowly, others paused for minutes at a time, and a few spun briefly backward before resuming their gentle rhythm. Eli felt an unusual calm in this anomaly, a sensation as if the night itself was stretching to let him notice every detail. In the center of town stood an ancient clock tower, its face glowing faintly in the moonlight. Beside it, a small shop displayed rows of intricate clocks of every shape and size. The sign above the door read, "Talk and pause, time for the patient." Eli felt an invisible pull, guiding him toward the door. Inside, the air was warm and still. Thousands of clocks lined the walls, their ticking creating a soft symphony, not of urgency, but of gentle rhythm. At the back of the shop stood the clockmaker, a tall, quiet figure whose hands moved slowly, adjusting gears and tiny pendulums with infinite patience. He looked up at Eli and smiled softly, as though expecting him all along. "Welcome," the clockmaker said, his voice low and calming, "to the town where time pauses for those willing to notice." Eli walked carefully among the clocks, marveling at their delicate mechanisms. Each clock seemed alive, not just measuring hours, but observing the moments that passed unnoticed. The flicker of candlelight, the gentle sway of a tree branch, the subtle sigh of the night air. He felt the rhythm of the town sync with his own heartbeat, slow and measured, as if he had stepped into a world where patience itself was the law of motion. The clockmaker guided Eli to a large circular clock in the center of the shop. Its face was enormous, its hands barely moving, yet every tick carried a subtle, almost imperceptible vibration that resonated in the chest. "This clock," the clockmaker said softly, "does not measure hours. It measures attention, patience, and presence. Time here is not counted in minutes, but in moments fully lived." Eli leaned closer, feeling the vibrations pulse through him. The shop around him seemed to stretch and expand. Every tick of every clock created a wave of calm that moved slowly through the air. Tiny motes of light drifted lazily among the gears, forming patterns that twisted and curled in harmony with the soft hum of the mechanisms. As he wandered through the shop, Eli noticed small details that might have been overlooked anywhere else. A tiny gear spinning on its own, releasing a faint shimmer. A pendulum swinging backward for a moment before resuming its gentle forward motion. A miniature clock where the hands paused entirely, waiting silently for someone to notice. Each of these tiny moments carried a subtle lesson in patience, attention, and wonder. He followed the clockmaker to a window overlooking the streets of the town. Outside, nothing moved as it usually would. A cat paused mid-step. A leaf lingered suspended in the air. A lantern's glow wavered slowly in a rhythm that seemed perfectly synchronized with the town itself. Eli realized that the town had slowed, not because the world demanded it, but because anyone who noticed the subtle beauty of life could step into this rhythm and feel its calm. Eli stepped slowly onto the cobblestone streets, noticing how the moonlight softened the edges of every building. The clocks in the windows ticked softly, each one slightly different from the other, as if the town itself breathed in delicate pulses rather than rushing through hours. With every step, he felt more attuned to the subtle rhythm of the night, as though time had paused just for him to notice its gentle patterns. The clockmaker walked beside him, silent, guiding him without words. He pointed toward a small fountain in the town square, where water arced in a slow, almost hypnotic rhythm. Each droplet caught the faint glow of the street lamps, forming tiny prisms of light that hovered for a moment before dissolving into the pool below. Eli knelt beside the fountain, reaching out to touch the water. When his fingers skimmed the surface, the ripples seemed to echo not only through the pond, but through the soft pulse of the town itself. Each ripple carried faint memories. Laughter shared under a quiet sky. Footsteps on cobblestones at dawn. The soft brush of wind through leaves. The clockmaker watched Eli, nodding subtly. Time, he said, is not measured in hours alone. It exists in the small things you notice, the moments you choose to live fully. Eli smiled softly, realizing the truth in the words. Every small movement, the sway of a lantern, the pause of a cat mid-step, the shimmer of moonlight on the fountain, carried a sense of meaning and quiet wonder. The town, ordinary to those who hurried through it, now felt alive with gentle magic, revealing lessons only visible to the patient eye. As they walked further, the clouds above began to drift lazily, reflecting the faint glow of the street lamps. Tiny motes of light floated down, like slow falling snow, illuminating cobblestones and rooftops. Eli reached out a hand, letting the motes drift through his fingers. Each one seemed to vibrate softly, carrying a quiet story of a day long forgotten. A child's first bicycle ride, a baker's careful kneading of dough, the hushed conversation of two friends under a tree. These small stories settled in his chest, filling him with warmth and calm. They arrived at a narrow alleyway where the clocks on the walls moved even slower, the hands curling and stretching in deliberate arcs. The clockmaker gestured for Eli to pause. He leaned close to a clock with a delicate golden face. "Watch carefully," the clockmaker whispered. Some moments are meant to be noticed, not rushed. Even the tiniest movement contains a story, if you look closely enough. Eli focused, watching the second hand move imperceptibly. It paused, hesitated, then continued, leaving a faint shimmer in its wake. In that shimmer, he saw a vision, a small cafe on a rainy afternoon, sunlight catching through a window pane. The quiet joy of someone savoring a warm drink. It lasted only a heartbeat, yet it resonated fully, leaving him with a deep sense of calm and wonder. The alley opened into a tiny courtyard, where the clocks on the walls were of every imaginable shape and size. Some were tall and slender, others squat and round, yet all ticked in harmony with the slow heartbeat of the town. In the center, a large grandfather clock hummed softly. Its pendulum moved lazily, releasing faint ripples into the air that carried subtle fragrances. Old books, fresh rain, the soft scent of grass after a night shower. Eli inhaled slowly, letting the scents and sounds settle over him like a gentle blanket. He sat on the edge of the courtyard, closing his eyes, and felt the rhythm of the town sync with his own. Each heartbeat, each breath became part of the quiet symphony. The ticking of clocks, the ripple of the fountain, the whisper of motes drifting through the air. Time felt expansive, patient and infinite, yet intimate, holding him gently in its calm embrace. Above, the clouds drifted lazily, scattering soft, glowing droplets. Each drop fell slowly, tracing arcs in the air, releasing faint hums that resonated with Eli's chest. He realized that every small, unnoticed moment was alive with subtle meaning, a lesson from the town, from the clocks, from the patient heartbeat of time itself. He lay back on the cobblestones, letting the warm hum of the clocks, the shimmer of the motes, and the gentle vibration of the pendulums carry him toward a deep, calm relaxation. The night stretched endlessly, slow and deliberate, as if the world itself had paused to let him rest, notice, and dream. And as Eli's eyelids grew heavy, the town, the clocks, and the gentle rhythm of the night wrapped around him completely. Every subtle movement, every soft vibration, every whisper of the air became a lullaby, slow, infinite, and full of quiet wonder. The streets of the town stretched on, quiet and slow, like a dream, where every detail had been magnified just enough to be noticed. Eli wandered past shops whose windows displayed softly glowing clocks of every shape and size. Some had faces made of glass, some of wood, some of strange metals that shimmered faintly in the moonlight. Each tick, each sweep of a hand carried a gentle vibration he could feel more than hear, a quiet resonance that seemed to settle in his chest and calm his mind. In a small square, a fountain burbled slowly, its water arcing into the moonlight like a string of silver pearls. The droplets seemed to hover for a moment longer than usual, suspended in time before falling with a soft splash. Eli knelt and touched the surface of the water. Each ripple seemed to echo the town's unique rhythm, a calm, deliberate beat that stretched the moments between seconds. He watched closely and noticed tiny glowing motes floating above the fountain, drifting lazily in circles. Each mote seemed to carry a story, a tiny fragment of someone's day, long forgotten yet preserved in the subtle magic of the town. A cat appeared, moving slowly, deliberately, as if even its steps were measured by this patient time. It paused mid-step, gazing at Eli with luminous eyes, and he felt the town's calm pulse synchronize with the rhythm of the cat's movements. Every tiny gesture, every small ripple in the fountain, every tick of a nearby clock seemed to form a gentle symphony of patience and presence. The clockmaker appeared beside him once more, silent, guiding Eli toward a narrow alleyway lined with tall, narrow clocks. The hands of each clock moved differently. Some spun forward slowly, some hesitated mid-sweep, some ticked backward before resuming forward motion. Time here, the clockmaker whispered, is not measured by speed or urgency, but by awareness. The smallest moment, if noticed, becomes infinite. Eli walked along the alley, pausing at each clock to observe its subtle motion. One pendulum swung so slowly that it was almost imperceptible, yet he could feel the vibration in his chest. Another clock's hands seemed to stretch and curve like ribbons, tracing delicate arcs in the air before settling into place. Each movement carried a faint hum, a soft resonance that wove together with the town's heartbeat. At the end of the alley, he found a small courtyard bathed in the glow of countless clocks. The grandfather clocks, wall clocks, and miniature pocket watches all ticked in harmony, yet each in its own tempo. Eli sat on the cobblestones and closed his eyes, letting the rhythm fill him. The soft hum of the clocks, the subtle vibrations, the warm glow of the pendulums, all merged into a slow, calming lullaby. Above, the clouds drifted lazily, scattering faint light across the square. Tiny droplets of glowing mist floated down, hovering mid-air for a moment before disappearing. Eli reached out, letting them brush against his skin. Each carried a memory. The hush of a quiet street at dawn, a soft smile shared in passing, the gentle warmth of sunlight through a window. The droplet's faint vibration resonated in his chest, filling him with peace and subtle wonder. A gentle wind stirred the air, carrying with it the scent of old books, fresh rain, and soft grass. It mixed with the hum of the clocks and the faint glow of the droplets, creating a symphony of calm that felt almost tangible. Eli lay back on the warm cobblestones, letting the town, the clocks, and the clouds envelop him completely. Every heartbeat, every breath synchronized with the slow, infinite rhythm of the night. And as his eyes grew heavy, Eli felt a profound understanding. Time was not something to be chased, measured, or hurried. It existed in the small, quiet moments, in the gentle pauses, in the slow rhythm of attention and awareness. The town, the clocks, and the night itself whispered this lesson gently, carrying him deeper into a dreamlike, peaceful sleep, where every subtle moment became infinite. Eli rose slowly from the cobblestones, feeling the soft vibration of the town echo through his chest. Every step he took seemed to stretch the night itself, allowing him to notice things that might otherwise have gone unseen. The shops lining the square glowed faintly, their windows reflecting tiny motes of light, drifting lazily in the air. Some of the motes twisted into delicate shapes. A bird in mid-flight, a winding river, a flower opening under the moonlight. Each movement was slow, deliberate, and mesmerizing, carrying a quiet resonance that made Eli feel profoundly calm. He wandered down a narrow lane where the clocks grew taller and more intricate. One tower clock seemed almost alive. Its hands curved and twisted, occasionally stopping to linger on a single hour before resuming. Each tick a soft echo that vibrated faintly in the ground. Eli knelt to place his hand near its base, feeling the gentle hum that traveled up through the cobblestones and into his heart. Each tick, pause, and spiral of the clock taught him something new: patience, presence, and the subtle beauty of noticing small, fleeting moments. Above, the clouds moved slowly in the sky, their edges glowing faintly with the reflection of lanterns below. From them, tiny droplets floated down like slow, luminous rain. Eli held out his hands, letting the droplets drift through his fingers. Each droplet seemed to hum with quiet stories. A child discovering a hidden garden, a baker carefully kneading dough for the first light of day, a quiet sigh of relief after a long wait. The stories were not his, yet they resonated deeply, filling him with warmth and gentle wonder. The clockmaker appeared beside him, moving with his usual calm grace. "Follow me," he whispered, his voice barely audible above the soft hum of the town. He led Eli toward the edge of the square where an archway of intertwined clocks and pendulums formed a passage into a secluded garden. The pendulum swung in slow arcs, releasing faint vibrations into the air. Each swing seemed to stretch time itself, elongating moments so that Eli could fully feel their quiet magic. In the garden, flowers glowed faintly under the soft light of the clouds and lanterns. Eli walked among them, noticing that each bloom opened and closed with a deliberate rhythm, synchronized with the slow pulse of the town. A small fountain bubbled in the center, its droplets catching the light and scattering tiny, luminous reflections across the ground. Eli knelt beside it, dipping his fingers into the water. The ripples traveled outward, carrying subtle echoes of quiet laughter, gentle music, and whispered conversations long forgotten. The clockmaker gestured to a bench beneath a large tree whose leaves shimmered with the glow of tiny pendulum lights. "Sit," he said. "Here, time is a gift. Listen to it carefully, and it will teach you more than any hurry ever could." Eli sat, closing his eyes, and let the rhythm of the town flow through him. Every heartbeat, every tick of a clock, every gentle movement of a leaf became part of a slow, endless melody. The air shimmered with faint motes of light drifting lazily around him. Each mode carried a fragment of a story, a whisper of calm, or a subtle lesson. They brushed against his skin, leaving traces of warmth and quiet joy. He felt the world stretch around him. The town, the clouds, the clocks, the soft night air, all merged into one slow, deliberate experience. For the first time, he truly understood the beauty of being present, of noticing, feeling, and embracing the quiet magic hidden in ordinary moments. Above, the clouds began to drift in gentle spirals, forming arcs that mirrored the swinging pendulums below. The light shimmered across Eli's face, and the motes danced in perfect harmony with his breathing. Every small movement became an echo of calm. Every subtle vibration became a soft lullaby. And as Eli leaned back on the bench, letting the night cradle him, he felt a profound sense of peace settle deep into his chest. The town's gentle rhythm enveloped him completely. Time did not rush, the clocks did not demand, and every detail whispered quietly. Notice, feel, rest, be here. And slowly, softly, Eli drifted, carried on the timeless, patient rhythm of the town, into a deep, gentle, and dreamlike sleep. The town's streets stretched endlessly, though not in the hurried way of ordinary places. Every corner, every cobblestone seemed deliberately placed to slow the eye, to invite observation, to allow the rhythm of the night to settle fully into the heart. Eli walked slowly, almost as if his footsteps themselves had adopted the patient pace of the town. Lanterns swayed faintly above him, and their soft, golden glow reflected off the walls and windows, scattering light like tiny stars brought down to earth. Ahead, a narrow bridge arched over a shallow stream, the water barely moving, yet reflecting the soft glow of the lanterns and clouds above. Tiny droplets hovered mid-air, caught in the spell of paused time, slowly spinning before dissolving into the night. Eli knelt at the edge and dipped his hand in the water. Each ripple he made traveled outward, blending with the tiny currents of the stream, carrying echoes of stories, the hush of someone reading by candlelight, the gentle laugh of friends sharing a secret, a distant song drifting on the wind. The clockmaker appeared beside him, silent as ever, pointing toward a series of tiny floating lights above the water. Notice them, he whispered. They are the moments that usually pass unnoticed. Here, you can see them, feel them, and let them teach you. Eli watched as the lights danced slowly, each moving in its own gentle rhythm. He realized they were like the motes in the fountain, each carrying a etza, fragment of someone's day, preserved in the town's patient time. He extended his hands, letting the lights drift through his fingers. A warmth spread through his chest, accompanied by the softest echo of music. Like a lullaby, sung somewhere far away, yet intimately close. Continuing along the stream, Eli noticed a small garden tucked behind an old stone wall. The flowers glowed faintly, petals moving in subtle hypnotic rhythms, as if breathing in the slow passage of time. A pair of fireflies danced among the blooms, leaving trails of light that lingered longer than usual, tracing delicate patterns that shifted and shimmered. Eli knelt to watch them, letting the slow, deliberate beauty of each tiny movement fill him with calm. Beyond the garden, a narrow alley led to a quiet square. In the center, a fountain's water arced into the air in slow, perfect rhythm, each droplet pausing mid-flight for just a fraction longer than reality would normally allow. Eli sat on the edge of the fountain, feeling the soft vibration of the falling water resonate with his own heartbeat. Around him, clocks ticked in gentle harmony, some fast, some slow, all blending into a patient, melodic symphony. The clockmaker joined him, holding a small, ornate pocket watch. Time, he said softly, is not just hours or minutes. It's patience, attention, and presence. Each small moment is infinite if you allow yourself to fully feel it. Eli nodded, closing his eyes to the hum of the clocks. the ripple of the water, and the slow sway of the clouds above. Tiny droplets of mist drifted down from the clouds, brushing softly against his skin. Each one seemed to carry a memory. The first light of dawn spilling into a quiet room, the faint rustle of leaves on a calm morning, the warmth of a smile shared in passing. They settled gently on him, leaving faint traces of calm, wonder and reflection. Above, the clouds began to drift into intricate arcs, stretching across the sky like luminous bridges. Their edges glimmered softly, and faint motes of light floated off them, slowly descending like stars, melting into the night. Eli watched, mesmerized by the patient, infinite dance of light and rhythm, feeling a deep sense of harmony with the town and the quiet lessons it offered. He lay back on the soft grass beside the fountain, letting the clockmaker's presence and the town's gentle rhythm carry him completely. Every heartbeat, every breath, merged with the slow, infinite pulse of the night. The clouds, the clocks, the floating lights, and the softly moving water enveloped him in a cocoon of calm. And as his eyelids grew heavy, the town whispered softly, "Rest, notice, feel, be here." Eli drifted fully into the slow, serene embrace of paused time, carried gently into dreams, where every moment was infinite, soft and alive. Eli rose from the edge of the fountain and continued along the narrow streets, his steps perfectly in sync with the town's slow pulse. The lanterns flickered gently, sending warm reflections across the cobblestones. In every window, he could see clocks of unusual design. Some had faces carved from delicate ivory. Others had hands made of silver thread that twisted and curled with the soft hum of time. Each tick, each subtle pause, resonated faintly through the air, harmonizing with the rhythm in Eli's chest. He wandered into a small courtyard framed by ivy-covered walls. The courtyard was dotted with tiny fountains, each trickling water in a different rhythm. Some droplets seemed suspended for a moment longer than possible, hanging in the air as if time had slowed just for them. Eli reached out and let the water fall through his fingers. Every droplet carried a faint echo, the whisper of wind through tall grass, the gentle creak of an old wooden door, a quiet laugh shared in a forgotten corner of a street. These tiny, suspended moments filled him with calm, wonder, and deep presence. A small staircase led him to a higher terrace overlooking the town. From this vantage point, Eli could see the rooftops bathed in the soft glow of lanterns and moonlight. Tiny motes of light drifted lazily in the air, swirling like slow snowflakes. Some motes spiraled upward, others descended, all moving in intricate, almost choreographed patterns. As he watched, Eli realized these motes carried the essence of the town itself. Moments of attention, gentle care, and quiet magic that stretched time into a slow, patient flow. The clockmaker appeared beside him, standing silently, his presence comforting. "From up here," he whispered, "you can see the town's rhythm most clearly. Every motion, every sound, every pause is part of a larger pattern. Notice it, and you will feel time differently." Eli closed his eyes, letting the soft hum of the clocks, the murmur of fountains, and the delicate sway of the clouds above fill him. He could feel the town's heartbeat in his chest, slow and deliberate, stretching each moment into a gentle eternity. Tiny droplets of mist from the clouds brushed against his skin, carrying fragments of memory, the calm of a quiet morning, the subtle joy of a shared glance, the soft hush of night settling over a town. Each one left a trace of warmth and serenity. A soft wind stirred the terrace, carrying the faint scent of rain and old wood. Eli inhaled deeply, letting it mingle with the hum of the clocks and the subtle vibrations from the fountains. He felt completely present, entirely connected to the slow pulse of the town. Each detail, the flicker of a lantern, the sway of a tree branch, the spiral of a clock hand, taught him the power of patience, attention, and stillness. From above, the clouds began to form delicate arcs, slowly drifting in patterns that mirrored the gentle swings of the clock pendulums below. Light spilled from them in waves, creating reflections on the rooftops, cobblestones, and fountains. Eli lay down on the terrace, letting the warmth of the night, the soft vibrations of the town, and the gentle glow of the clouds wash over him. Every heartbeat, every breath merged with the town's slow, infinite rhythm. The clocks ticked softly, the fountains rippled, and the floating motes danced lazily around him. Time did not hurry. It simply existed in every subtle, unnoticed moment. And as Eli surrendered to this rhythm, the town carried him gently, deeply, into a calm, dreamlike sleep where every detail felt infinite, soft, and alive. Eli wandered down a quiet lane where the walls of the buildings were covered in ivy that shimmered faintly under the glow of lanterns. The leaves swayed slowly, almost imperceptibly, though there was no breeze. Each movement seemed deliberate, synchronized with the town's patient heartbeat. Tiny motes of light floated around him, spiraling lazily like drifting seeds, illuminating the cobblestones in soft golden patterns. A small cafe appeared at the corner of the lane, its windows fogged with warmth. From inside he could hear faint, slow ticking, not from a clock, but from something larger, invisible. Peeking inside, Eli saw cups of tea and coffee placed on tables, steam rising gently in spirals, lingering longer than it normally would. The slow rhythm of the rising steam seemed to echo the pulse of the town itself. He stepped inside and felt the warmth of the room seep into him. A soft embrace that made him feel grounded yet weightless at the same time. Behind the counter, a barista smiled without words. Her movements were slow and deliberate, pouring tea, placing cups on saucers, adjusting a small clock on the shelf. Eli noticed that even the pouring of tea seemed like a small ritual, every drop carrying calm and intention. He sat at the table near the window, watching steam curl in soft arcs, observing the subtle sway of clocks on the walls, feeling the deep rhythm of presence in every motion. The clockmaker joined him, carrying a tiny pocket watch that glowed faintly in his palm. "Even here," he whispered, "time is not measured by hours. It is measured by awareness, by noticing, by being fully present in every gesture, every sound, every fleeting moment." Eli nodded, watching as a droplet of tea fell from the spoon into his cup. It fell in slow motion, landing with a soft plink, sending tiny ripples across the liquid. The movement seemed to stretch in a delicate, endless loop, carrying with it a sense of calm he had never felt before. He realized that the smallest moments, if fully observed, could feel infinite, and that the town itself was alive with these tiny eternities. After finishing his tea, Eli left the cafe and continued along a cobblestone path that led toward a small garden. The flowers glowed faintly, petals opening and closing with a slow, hypnotic rhythm. A gentle stream wound through the garden, its water reflecting the lanterns and clouds above in soft, undulating patterns. Eli knelt beside the stream, dipping his fingers into the water. Each ripple carried a faint vibration that resonated through his chest, leaving him calm and fully present. Above, clouds drifted lazily, scattering tiny glowing droplets that floated like slow falling stars. Eli reached out, letting the droplets touch his skin. Each one seemed to hum with quiet stories, the soft echo of laughter, the warmth of sunlight on a quiet morning, a whispered secret shared in a garden. He let them linger on his skin, feeling their gentle warmth and subtle magic. The clockmaker gestured to a large, ornate clock in the center of the garden. Its hands moved almost imperceptibly, and its pendulum swung in arcs so slow they seemed to stretch time itself. "Sit here," he whispered. "Listen, feel, let the rhythm teach you." Eli settled on a nearby bench, closing his eyes. Every heartbeat, every breath merged with the slow vibrations of the clocks, the fountain, the floating droplets, and the soft sway of the trees. He could feel the town's rhythm weaving through him, connecting every small detail into a calm, harmonious whole. The motes of light drifted past, spiraling slowly, each one carrying a fragment of a memory or a quiet lesson in patience, attention, and presence. And as Eli lay back, letting the soft glow of the garden and the gentle pulse of the town envelop him, he realized that time itself had become a gentle lullaby. Every small motion, every subtle vibration, every whisper of the night was a reminder that life's magic lives in the quiet, observed moments. Slowly, softly, he drifted into a deep, serene sleep, carried on the calm, patient rhythm of the town where time paused. Eli rose from the bench, the warmth of the garden lingering in his chest, and followed a winding path that led toward a small square he hadn't noticed before. The square was lined with buildings of soft, muted colors that seemed almost to glow in the gentle light of the lanterns. Each window held a clock, and each clock ticked with its own distinct rhythm, some slow and deliberate, some pausing mid-sweep, others tracing arcs so gradual that their motion seemed almost suspended in the air. In the center of the square stood a large, circular fountain, the water rippling in slow, hypnotic waves. Droplets arced into the air, pausing mid-flight as though caught in a delicate, invisible web. Eli knelt beside it, dipping his fingers in and feeling the subtle vibration of the water travel through his hand and into his chest. He noticed tiny motes of light drifting just above the surface, reflecting faintly in the ripples. Each one carried a soft echo, the hush of leaves in a distant forest, A quiet laugh shared in passing, the faint warmth of sunlight brushing against the windowsill. The clockmaker appeared beside him, placing a hand lightly on his shoulder. "Notice how each droplet, each movement carries meaning," he whispered. "Even in a town where time pauses, every moment holds a lesson if you are patient enough to see it." Eli watched as the droplets fell back into the fountain, spreading gentle ripples that mingled with the reflections of the lanterns. Each ripple seemed to linger longer than natural, stretching seconds into something that felt almost eternal. He realized that the true magic of the town was not just in the slowing of time, but in the ability to observe and feel the infinite richness of small moments. Above, clouds drifted slowly across the sky, their edges glowing faintly like lanterns themselves. Tiny droplets of light fell from them, floating in lazy spirals, brushing softly against Eli's skin. Each droplet carried a whisper, a memory of a quiet morning, the sound of distant music, the warmth of a gentle smile. They were not his memories, yet they resonated deeply, leaving a trace of calm and wonder. He wandered toward a narrow alley that led to a small library tucked between two tall buildings. The library's windows glowed softly, and through the glass, Eli could see rows of books, their pages catching the light in delicate, slow movements. Inside, the air was warm, filled with the faint scent of old paper and polished wood. The clockmaker followed him, silent, letting Eli explore at his own pace. Eli ran his fingers along the spines of the books, noticing that even the pages seemed to move slightly, as if breathing. He pulled one gently from the shelf and opened it. The words inside did not rush across the page. Instead, they seemed to settle slowly, allowing him to absorb each syllable, each phrase, with deep attention. The story within the book mirrored the town itself. Quiet, deliberate, and rich with subtle, patient magic. He wandered further into the library, discovering small alcoves where clocks ticked softly, pendulums swinging in hypnotic arcs. Each swing released faint vibrations, blending with the quiet hum of the library and the subtle glow of the lanterns outside. Eli sat in one of the alcoves, letting the rhythm carry him, feeling the gentle pulse of the town settle fully into his chest. Outside, the clouds continued to drift, scattering soft motes of light across rooftops, cobblestones, and garden paths. Eli watched them for a long while, letting their patient movement mirror the slow, steady beat of his own heart. He realized that time, when observed slowly, could be a gentle teacher, revealing wonders in the smallest of motions. The sway of a branch, the pause of a raindrop, the shimmer of a lantern's reflection on cobblestones. As Eli leaned back in the alcove, closing his eyes, the town seemed to hum around him, a symphony of clocks, fountains, clouds, and light. Every heartbeat, every breath merged seamlessly with the slow, infinite rhythm. The motes of light swirled lazily above him, brushing softly against his skin, carrying tiny fragments of stories, memories, and calm. And in that moment, Eli felt completely present, completely at peace, and completely cradled in the gentle magic of a town where time itself had learned to pause, observe, and breathe. Eli left the library and wandered back onto the streets, noticing how the town's light seemed softer now, more delicate, as though the night itself had drawn a deep, patient breath. The cobblestones beneath his feet glimmered faintly in the glow of lanterns, each step creating a subtle echo that mingled with the soft hum of clocks from every building around him. Tiny motes of light drifted in spirals above the streets, lazily tracing patterns as if painting the air with invisible brushes. He passed a small square where a fountain bubbled gently, droplets hanging mid-air for a moment longer than natural before they descended with soft, deliberate arcs. Eli knelt beside it, letting his fingers trace the ripples. Every ripple carried a faint resonance, like echoes of small joys. The laughter of children chasing one another through quiet streets, the hush of someone reading under a window light, the whisper of wind brushing leaves on a still evening. Each ripple seemed to settle softly into his chest, leaving warmth and calm behind. The clockmaker appeared beside him again, motioning toward a narrow bridge that crossed a gently flowing stream. "Walk slowly," he whispered. "Notice how each movement, each reflection, each soft vibration tells a story. Even here, in water and stone, time teaches patience." Eli followed the bridge, watching the water below as it reflected the lanterns, clouds, and drifting motes above. Tiny waves curved lazily, stretching moments into something that felt endless. Above the stream, droplets of mist hung suspended, spinning slowly in arcs before dissolving into the air. Each carried subtle memories: a quiet conversation beneath an oak tree, the calm of early morning sunlight spilling through curtains, the faint joy of a shared smile. Eli held his hands out, letting the droplets brush over his skin. They left traces of warmth, serenity, and gentle wonder. On the far side of the bridge, a small garden revealed itself, tucked behind ivy-covered walls. Flowers glowed faintly, petals opening and closing with a slow, hypnotic rhythm. A soft breeze, or perhaps the town's own heartbeat, stirred the leaves, creating gentle swaying patterns that seemed almost deliberate, choreographed to match the slow tick of nearby clocks. Eli wandered between the flower beds, noticing tiny insects hovering lazily, suspended mid-flight, longer than possible, each one leaving shimmering trails of light in its path. The clockmaker guided him to a bench beneath a large tree, whose branches stretched high, dotted with softly glowing lanterns. "Here," he said, "you can rest. Let the town's rhythm fill you completely. Listen to every small motion, every subtle vibration. Let it remind you that every moment, no matter how quiet, carries meaning." Eli sat and closed his eyes. The gentle hum of the clocks, the soft rippling of the fountain, the drifting motes, the glowing flowers, all blended into a slow, harmonious symphony. Every heartbeat, every breath, merged with this rhythm. Time felt expansive, yet intimate, infinite yet deeply personal. The town whispered its lessons softly: observe, feel, rest, and let each moment be fully alive. Above, clouds shifted lazily, scattering droplets of light that fell like stars melting into the night. Eli could feel each droplet's vibration, carrying a fragment of memory, a gentle lesson, or a subtle spark of wonder. The mist brushed over his skin, settling into him like a warm, soft blanket. He felt completely held, entirely present and profoundly calm. He leaned back on the bench, letting the soft glow, gentle hum, and slow, infinite pulse of the town cradle him. The clouds, the fountains, the clocks, and the drifting motes all moved together in a patient, deliberate rhythm, carrying him deeper into rest. And as his breathing slowed, his heartbeat aligned perfectly with the town, Eli drifted further into a dreamlike, serene sleep, enveloped in the gentle, infinite magic of a place where time had learned to pause and simply exist. Eli stood slowly from the bench, feeling the town's calm rhythm in every heartbeat. The fountains, the drifting motes, the softly glowing lanterns, and the clocks all seemed to hum together in a quiet farewell. He walked back along the cobblestone streets one last time, letting the gentle vibrations of time settle fully in his chest. The clockmaker appeared beside him, smiling softly. "Remember," he said quietly, "time is not in hours, minutes, or seconds. It lives in the small moments you notice, the pauses you embrace, and the calm you carry within yourself." Eli nodded, taking a deep, slow breath. The lanterns flickered gently, the fountains rippled softly, and the motes of light floated lazily into the night air. Each movement, each sound, each shimmer seemed to echo the quiet lesson he had learned: to observe, to feel, and to rest within the gentle flow of life. As he walked toward the edge of the town, the soft hum of the clocks faded gently behind him, leaving only the memory of calm and presence. The night stretched wide and still, carrying Eli's heart with it into a deep, peaceful sleep. And in the town where time paused, every small moment remained, waiting patiently for the next person to notice, breathe, and rest within its gentle rhythm. Eli's journey through the town where time pauses has come to a gentle close. Every soft tick of the clocks, every drifting mote of light, every slow ripple of the fountains has guided him and you into a state of deep, peaceful calm. As the town fades softly behind him, the lessons remain. Pause, notice, breathe, and embrace the quiet magic in every moment. Let this serene rhythm carry you further into relaxation and sleep, knowing that every small, subtle detail in life holds gentle wonder and infinite calm. Thank you for joining Eli in this tranquil, dreamlike journey. May your dreams be soft, your rest be deep, and your heart feel the slow, soothing pulse of the town where time itself learned to pause.